So that also equals power. So men respect that power either through brute strength or through brains that generated that money, aka Superman and Lex Luthor. So let's talk Superman, the new 2025 Superman movie. I loved it. I loved a lot of it. And please be advised that there will be a lot of spoilers. So proceed carefully. I will try not to make as much spoilers, but just in case, make sure you proceed carefully. I want to preface this by saying that I am not a hardcore comic book reader. I dip in here and there, you know. And when it comes to superhero comic movies, I lean more towards Marvel than DC Comics. So, to give an example, like a ratio, for every 10 Marvel movies, I'll probably see about like 4 or 5 DC movies. DC movies. So my last brush with Superman was in Smallville, Man of Steel, Smallville the TV show, Man of Steel the movie, and Batman versus Superman. With Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, I watched them a long while ago, and around that time I was so distracted because I was doing homework and other things, and I was watching them interchangeably while doing while doing that. So I only remember a few scenes, and I can't tell you the general impression that it had on me. So this review of Superman 2025 will just focus heavily on this current movie with little to no interference via comparison to the previous ones. This movie still has a lot of the classic Lex Luthor, Lois Lane characters, and Lex is still an enemy and villain to Clark Kent, aka Superman. But it approaches it to through the lens of Superman versus himself, aka the manufactured version of himself that was put together by Lex Luthor. And of course, it's still Superman versus Lex Luthor. And this movie, one thing about this movie, and I'll review it through this lens, is how it either intentionally or unintentionally addressed a lot of the social, like the societal issues and fears that are currently happening in society and in many parts of the world at large. So we have the issue of the AI versus humans that has been a big, I mean, it's been coming up, but now it's been with the whole job insecurity going on, the whole, crazy job market, and the whole AI talks, and even things online that are being doctored and manufactured, and like you see a grape with a human face crying and eating more grapes. Like it's become so it's become such an issue and a fear and also advancement in society. Well, I think this movie tackles it via the route of Superman fighting, a generated version of himself, like that's actually made and generated in a lab with a strand of his DNA. And I think it addresses that because a lot of the things used to train the AI are the things that humans have done. You see, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, but you see a lot of writers now making bids to Congress talking about this AI machine generated like a whole book, and I read it and I see a lot of, oh my God, this is really starting to sound a lot like me. And we see a lot of that. So I think a part of this addressed it. At least that's what I got from it. And there's also the whole brain versus brawn thing. And I think this has been going on for a long time. I would like to say that I am not a man. I don't know what it feels like to survive in this world as a man. And I don't know what it feels like to survive in the world as a man when in the world of men, in the world, surrounded by other men, in the company of other men. I don't know what it feels like. But there's always this thing between, you know, I've noticed, again, as an outsider, a woman looking into the world of men, men seem to respect strength. I mean, people in general respect strength, but like physical strength, men respect it a lot. And I don't mean like jacked, like someone that's jacked or whatever. Even the jacked people, but like someone that's strong, like physically strong, can beat the out of you. Men respect that. And throughout, like just going, the equalizer for that has been money, and not just money but also the brain part, where we see a lot of scrawny tech bros rising in the world, and putting their brain to good use, and generating companies that are like what billions of dollars and being super rich. So in a way, men also respect that, because that strength, that physical strength, equals power. And that money, not really the brain part of it, but like the what that brain can get you, what you do when you put that brain to use, that money. So you see like a scrawny tech dude that can't even lift 1 pound of weight, but he has like this big security guy protecting him because he's got that money to hire him, right? So that also equals power. So men respect that power, either through brute strength or through brains that generated that money, aka Superman and Lex Luthor. But aside from that, there are also men that don't really have each, whether the physical strength, they have it, but not like super, not like where their whole sense of self is directly tied to it. And then there are men that don't really have the brains. They have it, but also not where their whole um, sense of self is tied to it. And they are still respected by other men because they have built whatever that inner confidence is anchored in, they have built it. There are a tiny group of men in that category. But in generally speaking, there is that, either that power via brute strength or via money. So looking at this, it's clear that money is that equalizer, and we live in a mostly capitalist world, and that that money really does speak. And when it comes to, but then it becomes a thing where it's almost like the people that have the brains, it's almost like it's not enough too. Like they still want to prove that they can, I don't know, you see billionaires trying to schedule fights with each other. They still want to prove that they can go toe to toe via fists, things like that. And it's just like you kind of see it highlighted in Lex Luthor, where he doesn't just, these are two different powerful men. One more physical power and alien power, and the other one, because he's an alien, and the other one is more like technological, like very brainy, things like that. But he still wants to dominate this one that has, like, it's almost like that is not enough. He still wants to come over here and suppress that other one and show that he too can win in this arena. You know what I mean? So that's where that envy comes in and that obsession comes in and just that desire to just not just dominate but like to show that I fight Superman. Like I destroyed Superman. And then whenever I another issue that comes up with is this whole thing of confronting somebody when there's a power difference. Like we see it a lot with Lex Luthor and Superman. Like Superman knows that Lex Luthor is his enemy, but at least in this movie, we don't really see him, walk up to Lex Luthor unless until he got really pushed and pushed to do that. Like we don't really see him, just walk in and walk up to Lex Luthor and like beat the out of him in the office. Like we don't really see that until Lex kept doing and doing and doing and doing and doing until he went there. Like there's just this thing where if you're like so physically strong or so much powerful than somebody that's deemed the lesser guy or Lex Luthor, even though he's powerful in his own right, there's this thing of, oh well, you're an alien, you're much stronger than us, you're gonna kill us. Like there's this thing where even though you have that physical strength, so to say, it will behoove you to think before you act. And from the things we've seen about Superman, he is still growing, at least in this movie, he's still growing as a hero. He hasn't like gotten, he's still in that phase where he hasn't really equalized in the sense of, okay, this is how I'm going to handle this. This is what he's not really, he's more brawn. He's not really, and he's brawn with a good heart. He's not really like devious. He's not really that. So this brings us to our next step. There's this thing, as we see it with the whole Superman thing, like a lot of people, not all, but there's this thing where a lot of people, like the larger public, we have this thing where the people we perceive as our heroes are the people we perceive as people that have reached the highest of the highest, whatever it is in business, in life, on whatever. Like, and even them too, they get to a point where they start to perceive themselves as this, like, they are infallible, can't make mistakes. Or even when they make mistakes, like, it's almost like they can't be seen taking an L. And it's almost like you go through the hero journey, but part of going through that hero journey or heroine journey is taking as many L's as you can and then getting stronger from the L's. But it's like if someone reaches a certain level of success, we almost can't register that that person might still take an L. Like we almost can't register that that person might still fail. That person might still fall on their face. And that was one thing about like all the times, Superman got his ass handed to him in a lot of those fights. Like I even me as a viewer, I cringed a little bit. But then I asked myself, if he's, still learning how to get better and get better, why should him getting his ass handed to him like this? Why should I be feeling this way? And it's almost like we love an underdog, but then after that underdog proves that they are a hero, it's like, okay, stay there. Don't come down here again. Stay there. Stay there. Stay there. And then another thing I liked is that it addresses the another public discussion currently going on, whether it's in the sports industry, in the music industry, politicians, like it's going on in many industries. This whole thing of evil, powerful men being brought down by women, especially women that those powerful men deem as airheads or deem as people that are not really, like they're not really smart, like, airhead girlfriends or whatever. And in many cases, though, those women may be airheads, but it becomes interesting when they are not. And when sometimes you're just dealing with a woman's scorn, and even a woman that's scorned, whether airhead or not, can become the most dangerous woman to you. Like that's something that has been going on in the um in the society at large, that discussion, and that was brought in through this side character, Lex Luthor's girlfriend, aka Eve. And another thing that it brought up for me, like especially when she exposed everything that Lex Luthor has been doing and all the underhanded deals he's been doing, like her taking pictures of herself, and sometimes he has her in the room, like he treats her like a pet, like like he's her warder and she's a kid, or like a pet, like she's dear, like this harmless pet, like feed, like that kind of, that's how he treats her, and she plays the role so perfectly, like she's there, like taking her pictures, but he doesn't know that she's taking pictures, catching all the information that can incriminate him. And then she sends it to this reporter that she was infatuated with. And then even the reporter also viewed her as, this stupid girl. It was the woman reporter that said, "Hey, let me see that picture." And then zooms in and sees all the things. And like, this girl is actually smart. She was there taking selfies, but selfies of the things in the room that can incriminate him. Also, another thing that this brought up is another wider discussion on doxing, where people take, you see people talking about the whole safety issue and the whole hyper, we live in a hyper vigilant society, in a hyper, you do something and it's, even a regular person can go viral on the internet for doing something even regular that maybe someone else thinks is awesome, and now your pictures are everywhere. They find where you live, where you work, everything about you, they find it. But one thing about this is that, like, the whole taking a picture, a selfie, like let's say you take a selfie and you maybe take a selfie and the logo of your apartment is somewhere around the area, right? And then let's say you get into the wrong battle online and someone doxes you and they find where you live. And so that actually, when I saw that, that made me also think of that. And then another thing I want to say is that this cast did awesome. Like even the side characters did well. Um, I lived in Missouri for a little bit, for a while. The Kansas accent of what's her name? Superman's mom, ex mom was sending me. I am also, another thing that I want to say is, honorable standout performance in my opinion was Nicholas Holt, aka Lex Luthor. He knocked it out of the park, man. I've seen him in The Menu, and I've also seen him in that TV show, The Great. His acting chops are up there, and I'm just so impressed, especially seeing him in different roles. I'm really impressed. And God, in that movie, where in that scene where he thought he was winning against Superman, like he really made you feel the envy and the anger and the hunger to win of Lex Luthor when he was finally thinking that he was gonna off Superman, but he didn't let up. In that scene, around the ending, like when he was winning and he was having the genetically modified Superman fighting the real Superman, and he was having his uh subordinates like push keyboard keys to like make to like coordinate the movement of the genetic of the um modified Superman. Like there was a phrase that he just goes 1B, 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 and as he was doing it, like he was actually doing it, and it was just so in tandem because he was doing it, and the modified Superman, the generated Superman, was also doing the 1B and punching Superman. So it felt like he was in there. Like it just felt like a video game high. Like if you've seen boys or men play video games when they are like winning or they are like, I don't know, doing something. Like it just felt like that. And it made me think of that Cliff song, and what's it called again? In this their new album, Let God Set Them. And I think the song is called MTBTTF, where there was a line where Malice says, "Oh, you keyboard killers in your feelings." I can't. But that was a perfect, that song, especially that line, was a perfect description of that scene. Like the scene was already perfectly shot, like the way, like the sequence, like panning to him saying "Wumbi," and then that guy punching, like, and then the people typing "Wumbi, Wumbi," and it just felt like a stock trading, like where we see like a where they represent a stock trading floor in the TV, and he was just telling, "Yes, watch out." I can't. Well, yes, I actually enjoyed this movie. I if I would try and go see other Superman movies, but if I was to say, I'll say that this movie, if we're ranking Superman movies via um not via which one is good or which one is not good, but if we're ranking it based on the hero's journey, I'll say that this one, when he comes to Earth and he's getting acclimatized and all that, should probably be the first, like when he's growing up and everything. But this one should probably rank around the second or the third, where he actually gets to face, all these trials and tribulations, and is actually walking through it to, become a better Superman. And also another honorable mention of another thing that we're facing in society today, the keyboard warriors reminded me of it. Keyboard warriors. Like, did you see those monkeys and bots? Bots is another thing, like the Twitter bots and all these people that like sometimes you see a post get posted, and the next thing you know, there's like a bazillion comments or something under that post in like minutes. And yes, while it's people, like there's like this whole discussions of Twitter bots, but I thought it was such an interesting presentation where there was like the monkeys typing that Superman is shit and Superman is I was like, wow. Now again, maybe these were not meant to, maybe I'm just reading too much into this and it wasn't really meant to tackle these issues. But these are the things that it brought up to me, and the way it was used to, yes, highlight the whole Superman and Lex Luthor thing, but also highlight a lot of the things going on in society. I mean, some of those things have been going on. The whole powerful men and girlfriends, it's been going on from the beginning of time. But this whole like other societal issues that are coming to a head at this particular time that we live in, I thought this movie addressed it, and I thought all the actors did a wonderful job. I mean, the other side characters, I really loved the guy that played the guy with the nanoparticles. God, I can't remember his name. Hang on, let me find his name. The guy that was in the group, the black guy that was in the group with the hawk guy, hawk girl, and Green Lantern. Hang on, let me find his name. That helped, the guy that repaired the rift, that Lex Luthor. And that's one thing with obsession. Like, you get to a point where you're just so obsessed, you don't even mind if you're also, something that's not a healthy obsession, like Lex Luthor had. Like, you get to a point where you don't even care if you get killed. You want to make sure that you end whatever it is that is the what you perceive as the bane of your existence. Yeah, the guy that plays Mr. Terrific, he was terrific. His name is Eddie Gategi. Yeah, but he plays Mr. Terrific, and he was terrific in that movie. But yes, that is it for Superman. Make sure you go see it. And if you have anything that I missed, or I want to know your thoughts too, what are your thoughts on Superman 2025? Anyways, this is Aluchi from the Curvy Cauldron. I am also a writer. You can find my work on Medium, my works on Medium. You can also find them on my website, thecurvycauldron.com. I am also the author of the new poetry collection, Tasteful Hypocrisy, that is now available on Amazon.com. So make sure you check out my book. You can read it on Kindle Unlimited until September 8th. And you can also buy the paperback, which is $13.49, or the ebook, which is $8.99. Again, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is actually my first American movie review on the YouTube channel. So, yeah, it's exciting and I love it. And I love you guys. So, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for just tuning in and thank you for all your support. I love you.